Hey guys, tonight we trudge into a moonlit clearing where the air tastes faintly of damp pine needles and anticipation hangs like dew on moss. The Cherokee Herbalists gather in a half circle under an indigo sky, their shadows flickering in the firelight as they prepare to commune with restless spirits. You probably won't survive this with your heart entirely unshaken, though trust me, that's the point. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You step closer to the crackling fire, toes brushing against cool leaf litter as the herbalists pass you woven baskets brimming with curated plant bundles. Aromas of burning oak and fresh rosemary swirl around you, mingling with the crisp night air. You might be half expecting a TikTok trend to interrupt the ceremony, but nope. This is strictly spirits and sage, no dance challenges allowed. Historically, by the early 18th century, the Cherokee inhabited a territory spanning parts of today's North Carolina, Tennessee, and Georgia, thriving on rich river valleys and mountain slopes long before colonial presses marred the land. Each herbalist murmurs a quiet greeting in Cherokee sounds, drifting through towering oaks and hickories like ancient melodies. You notice the lead healer, an elder woman whose silver-streaked braids glint in the torchlight, offering a respectful nod before she gestures toward a low stone altar. Sprigs of sweetgrass and black cohosh rest atop the altar's flat surface, chosen not just for their earthy aroma, but for their reputed power to coax unruly spirits into calm repose. Fringe storytellers once insisted that a pinch of blue-violet petals could lure dear spirits into peaceful slumber, though most dismiss this as fanciful. You crouch beside a basket and run your fingers over brittle twigs and dried roots fossilized by time. Above you, fireflies flicker like tiny lanterns weaving through lacy ferns and feathery moss clumps. Someone mutters a grin and whispers, "If one of those bugs lands in my tea, I'm blaming the spirits because nothing breaks tension like paranormal insect interference." You wave away imaginary moths, amused by how even unseen guests crave a little herbal hospitality. A soft chant begins, voices as gentle as drifting feathers weaving through the night like a lullaby for the land itself. The herbalist's melody rises and falls, each note a delicate tug on unseen threads. You feel your breathing slow chest expanding and contracting in rhythm with the chant. Historians still argue whether these gatherings originally coincided with lunar eclipses or solstices. But under this half moon, the ritual unfolds with practiced grace. The elder healer dips her finger into a shallow bowl of spring water, swirling it gently before flicking droplets into the firelight. Each droplet catches the orange glow, dancing like miniature lanterns. The brittle snaps of burning wood and the gentle hiss of steam form a soft symphony, as if the forest itself hums along. The water comes from a spring sacred to the Anayunwiya, who call themselves the Principal People, a matriarchal society that wove clan heritage through generations. Next, deer antler spoons appear to stir simmering herb infusions in a heavy iron pot, each spoon carved with tiny symbols representing healing and harmony. You pause, half expecting someone to wear one as a hair accessory at dawn, a light reminder that traditions can be practical and playful at the same time. As you watch sprigs of horse balm and gray goldenrod float to the surface, releasing a delicate steam scented of mint and honey. The herbalists pass fragrant bundles of crushed roots wrapped in cloth, instructing you to cup them in your hands. The heat radiates through your palms, carrying a scent that tugs at distant memories, maybe of sunlit campfires or dew-soaked meadows. You release a soft laugh, I guess. Even spirits get cranky without their aromatherapy. And the circle ripples with gentle amusement. A hush falls as each herbalist offers a whispered blessing in the old tongue, calling upon ancestral spirits to cradle any agitated souls wandering too close. Somewhere, a lone cricket adds its nighttime solo to the melody, creating a quirky duet of chant and insect song. You close your eyes, letting the sounds and scents wrap around you like a warm quilt. As the ceremony wanes, a circle of smooth river stones emerges, each brushed clean with herb-infused water. You help place tiny clay amulets into shallow depressions on the stones, each token inscribed with a few strokes representing wind, water, earth, and fire. A final chant whispers through the group as they bless each element, anchoring a protective circle that murmurs reassurance to any spirit lingering beyond the veil. You press your palm to the nearest stone, feeling its cool solidity and imagining calm vibrations radiating outward into the night. The circle tightens bodies, leaning inward in a shared moment of quiet communion. You feel grounded, heart steady, as if the forest floor itself exhales beneath you. Lanterns carved from hollowed gourds glow at intervals, casting soft pools of light that dance across moss-covered rocks. In this serene bubble, time slows and worries drift away like ashes on the breeze. The breeze shifts, carrying the scent of damp earth and late-blooming jasmine. Owls call in the distance, their hollow hoots punctuating the silence like nature's punctuation marks. You inhale, savoring the layered aromas of mint sage and hidden berries, tasting each note on your tongue. Laughter has faded into gentle smiles, and under that gentle moon, you sense the land itself breathing easier. Tonight, you're not just a spectator, but a participant in an intricate tapestry woven by hands both human and unseen. And there you are in the heart of an age-old practice, learning that even the most restless spirits can find peace under a moonlit sky. If you offer them the right blend of herbs, chant the proper melody, and maybe slip in a few more corny jokes along the way. Sleep isn't guaranteed, but calm. That's practically herbal law. Your senses still tingling from the moonlit gathering, you lean in as the elder herbalist reaches for a long, slender stalk of sweetgrass, its pale green blades whispering like tiny wind harps in her hand. You watch her eyes narrow, scanning each leaf's subtle ridges and veined patterns, almost like a botanist scrolling through high-definition Instagram filters, though here, no amount of double-tap likes will replace ancestral wisdom. Historically, archaeological digs in southeastern Appalachia have uncovered charred traces of black cohosh in pre-contact Cherokee hearths, suggesting this root was prized for its calming properties long before European settlers ever set eyes on it. She places the sweetgrass beside a handful of dried black cohosh and gray goldenrod, then gestures toward a gnarled oak branch hung with moss. You can tell by the moss's silver-gray underside when the spirit of the plant is open to healing. She says, voice low and steady. You lean closer, inhaling an earthy blend of minty sweetness and damp bark that tickles your nostrils. Someone murmurs, feels like nature's own spa day, and you chuckle, imagining a forest with its own wellness retreat, though you probably wouldn't pay extra for grouse-infused exfoliation. Using a sharpened deer antler blade, she peels back the sweetgrass's fibrous stalk to reveal the tender core, then tears off a single strip to chew thoughtfully. The taste is faintly sweet, like fresh hay kissed by morning dew. Fringe lore holds that if you gather sweetgrass at dawn, before the first sunbeam touches the earth, it will hold visions of long-lost ancestors in its scent, though most herbalists treat that as part legend, part morning motivation. You chew too, wincing slightly as the texture shifts under your teeth, and someone quips, warning, may cause sudden ancestral group chat notifications. She smiles, brushing a stray lock of silver hair behind her ear, then pinches a leaf of gray goldenrod between her thumb and forefinger. You watch as she crushes it, releasing a golden dust that drifts upward like pollen in a breeze. Gray goldenrod, she explains, soothes restless minds and murmuring spirits. You hold your breath, letting that powdery fragrance settle around you crisp and honeyed. Historians still argue whether Cherokee classification of healing plants was shaped more by shamanic visions or by careful trial and error experimentation. But tonight, you feel both science and spirit weaving together. Next, she holds up a sprig of fading jewelweed, its orange-spotted leaves curling like tiny umbrellas. This one's for itching spirits, she says, slipping the sprig into a satchel. You raise an eyebrow. Never thought about spirits getting itchy, but then recall the last time you scratched mosquito bites, until you regretted every life choice leading up to that moment. The idea of an agitated spirit scratching its spectral arms makes you grin at the absurdity of supernatural itchiness. As the herb circle unfolds, you notice a younger healer crouched nearby, carefully examining a low-lying patch of foam flower. He blows gently on the cloud-like clusters of white petals, watching them dance like lazy snowflakes. They say these petals mimic spirit sighs. He whispers to you, and if you press them under your pillow, the nightmares shiver away. You slip a few into your pocket, imagining carrying a handful of miniature ghost smoothers, because who doesn't want a portable dream filter? The lead herbalist moves over to a woven mat and lays out a selection of roots: white snake root, blue violet, and bloodroot. Each root's bark and hue speak volumes: white snake root's chalky exterior blue, violet's indigo shimmer, and bloodroot's rusty orange core. You recall from one of those random nature documentaries that white snake root famously poisoned grazing cattle, giving settlers milk sickness, yet here the Cherokee used it in tiny doses to ground errant spirits. You shiver at the thought, too much of a good thing, and you might accidentally haunt your own tea mug. She narrows her gaze as she selects the right bloodroot, faintly humming a soft Cherokee phrase that feels like a lullaby for the earth itself. You catch a whiff of its pungent, almost metallic tang and pull back, half expecting sparks though the only thing glowing is your curiosity. The elder healer explains that bloodroot's bitter sap helps sever spirit attachments gone sour. You imagine yourself as a spiritual landscaper, pruning stray souls like wayward vines. Definitely not a job for the faint-hearted. Grabbing a handful of black cohosh root, she tears it into thin shavings, revealing its fibrous, ghost-white interior. You lean forward as she crushes the bits between smooth stones, unleashing a sweet, musky aroma that warms your chest. There's a quick exchange of smiles when someone jokes I could bottle this and sell it as haunt begone, earning soft laughter from the circle. You inhale deeply, letting that scent anchor you a fragrant promise of calm. A younger apprentice steps forward, holding a dew-coated bundle of spiderwebbed herbs. Gathering dew on spiderwebs at dawn, he says voice conspiratorial is said to magnify a herb's spirit-soothing power. Most dismiss it as fringe superstition, yet you watch droplets glisten on the silky threads like nature's own crystal chandeliers. The apprentice squeezes a few drops onto a black cohosh shaving and hands it to the elder for inspection. She nods approvingly and arranges each herb on a large maple leaf, grouping them by their spirit-healing intent, calming, grounding, and banishing. You recognize the subtle color coding greens for tranquility, yellows for clarity, and whites for release. All of it laid out reminds you of a chef's mise en place, but for spirits rather than soufflés. You half expect someone to quip, bon appetit, restless souls, and you'd laugh. Except the spirits here are surprisingly picky eaters. An open, scholarly debate bubbles up as you watch historians still argue whether these identification methods were codified in early Cherokee medicinal tomes, passed orally, of course, or developed instinctively by individual healers guided by dreams. You imagine long nights spent clutching leather-bound journals. Except most knowledge here traveled by word and scent rather than ink. You tiptoe around stacks of herbs, feeling the soft tickle of dried leaves against your fingertips. Finally, the elder healer invites you to try your own hand at identification. She holds your palm over a bundle of sweetgrass and murmurs a question in Cherokee. You concentrate, eyes half closed, letting intuition tingle up your spine like static before a storm. You point, and she nods, passing you a small bundle to carry into tomorrow's rituals. Your heart swells. Maybe you're not ready for a full grimoire, but tonight you've earned a place in the circle. As you step away, basket brimming with carefully chosen herbs, you look back and see the fireflies once again tracing lazy loops around the gathering. Their glow twinkles against the night little spirit couriers, perhaps delivering your selections straight to the restless souls beyond the trees. You can almost hear them whisper nice choices before fading into the darkness, leaving you clutching a fragrant promise of calm. You step off the beaten trail and into a cathedral of towering pines, their needles cushioning your boots as you follow hand-woven baskets swaying at the herbalist's hips. Every step brings a soft crackle of twigs underfoot, and you inhale a mingled scent of damp cedar wild mint and the faint tang of frost-nipped bloodroot. The elder healer leads staff tapping rhythmically against exposed roots as you navigate mossy trails that seem almost carpeted by nature's own tufted cushions. You can practically hear your own heartbeat syncing with the rustle of ferns overhead, a forest lullaby that's better than any sleep playlist you've ever saved. Baskets bob like buoyant moss pods woven from river cane and honeysuckle vines, each stitch tight enough to cradle delicate herbs without bruising. You reach down and run your fingers along the smooth, pale strips of river cane, admiring how the Cherokee perfected these lightweight carriers centuries ago. By the time European explorers first set foot in Appalachia in the early 16th century, local foragers already traded herbal wares with Spanish missionaries for iron tools and cloth. That exchange reshaped supply routes more than any Instagram influencer ever could. The path narrows between moss-draped boulders, then opens onto a hidden clearing where daylight spills in like a spotlight on an emerald stage. Here, ladies' slipper orchids sway on slender stems, their petals like tiny pink slippers whispering dance to passing spirits. You kneel to harvest the orchid's root with reverent precision. Avoiding the delicate flowers over harvesting wasn't just wasteful, it was sacrilege. Fringe lore claims these orchids glowed faintly under a full moon, guiding healers to sacred spring sites. But most scientists chalk that up to bioluminescent fungi lurking nearby. As you forage, a younger apprentice leads you to a cluster of foam flower growing beside a trickling stream. Knees sinking into loam, you cup water in your hands and splash your face, tasting the faint sweetness of dissolved minerals. Someone cracks DIY Spa Treatment Cherokee Edition, and you grin, picturing a spa menu featuring wild ginger body scrubs. You pinch a few petals, mindful that pain-relieving compounds hide in the fuzzy leaves. Historians still argue whether Cherokee foragers relied primarily on lunar calendars or on subtle indicators like insect activity to time their harvests. But tonight, you blend both, harvesting after the sun dips below the ridge and when fireflies dance in concentric circles. Your gaze drifts upward as a cedar branch overhead drips resin that smells like honeyed pine. The elder dips a finger into a resinous globule, gesturing you closer to taste the amber chew. It's sticky sweet on your tongue like nature's own candy, albeit one that doubles as antiseptic for spirit wounds. You decline their offer to borrow a stick for the ride home, cracking up as someone quips, "Warning may cause spontaneous tree hugging." You tuck a small shard into your pouch, planning to crush it later and infuse it into your spirit-steeping bath. Moving on, you follow a damp channel where shimmering clusters of maidenhair fern unfurl like tiny green umbrellas. The ferns grow in places where lingering grief once suffocated the earth, according to local tales. Healers believe maidenhair's gentle energy counters sorrowful spirits, a fringe claim dismissed by some as mere sentimentality. Still, you harvest a few fronds, careful not to uproot the entire colony. Those lessons in sustainability were drilled into every apprentice from a tender age. The elder stops at a fallen oak whose gnarled roots form a natural cradle. Moss carpets the cavity, and there you find handfuls of black cohosh, its long white spires peaking like candle flames in the low light. You crouch and gently grasp the root crown, twisting just enough to free it from the soil. The taste on your fingers is faintly spicy, warming the tip of your tongue. A quip floats through the clearing. when life gives you black cohosh make ghost tea, and you laugh marveling at how humor eases tension even amidst solemn work. A breeze stirs, carrying the sharp sweetness of wild ginger blooming nearby. You smell the blossoms before you see them, bright yellow petals encircling a crimson throat like miniature trumpets heralding spring's arrival. You unearth a few rhizomes, marveling at their twisted forms, and break off a sliver to chew. It warms your throat, tickling with spicy zing. Someone whispers, "Perfect for when spirits give you the cold shoulder," and you snort nearly right into the ferns across the clearing. A pocket of wintergreen hides beneath a blanket of fallen leaves. The leaves crack beneath your fingertips, releasing a minty aroma that jolts you awake more effectively than any energy drink. You slip a few leaves into an inner pocket, imagining slipping them under your pillow tonight for restful dreams. Fringe herbalists sometimes rub wintergreen oil on temples to ward off nightmares. You're tempted, but decide that lantern light provides enough cautionary glow. As the group moves on, you step into soft loam, where a cluster of ramp's wild leeks spreads its fragrant garland. The pungent, garlicky scent is so intense you almost trip over your own tongue. Cherokee foragers prized ramps not only for flavor, but because their seasonal appearance marked the transition from winter into spring. Traders even exchanged ramps for treaty benefits in the early 1800s. You harvest sparingly, twisting a few bulbs free and rinsing them in the stream's clear water. You pop one raw into your mouth, eyes watering, and mutter, "Nature's onion that never cuts onions," earning another round of soft chuckles. Finally, the path leads back toward the firelit clearing where you began, basket heavy with carefully chosen treasures. You pause at a chokecherry thicket and pluck a small cluster of berries, their dark sheen promising a tart addition to tomorrow's calming syrup. The berries stain your fingertips, and you grin at the collective memory of sticky hands greeting the dawn. Historians still argue whether chokecherry syrup was initially developed to treat human ailments or emerged from spirit-healing traditions. But tonight, you don't need an answer. Sweet, tangy, and potent, it seems fitting for both. Your basket now brims with moss-blanketed roots, fragrant rhizomes, and dewy leaves that tremble like miniature flags of peace. You breathe in the night air chest, rising and falling in sync with the forest's gentle exhale. Each harvested herb carries the echo of its moment, the orchid's pink slipper, the ginger's spicy zing, the ramp's tearful kick. You feel part of this ancient rhythm, footsteps tracing those of countless Cherokee foragers, before you guided by sight, sound, and that uncanny instinct passed down in stories and song. With each step back along the mossy trail, you sense the weight of all you carry, not merely basket and herbs, but gratitude and a deeper connection to land and lore. You tuck the gamma of learning and laughter alongside your harvest, knowing that tomorrow these forest-foraged medicines will soothe restless spirits and maybe calm your own wanderlust in the process. You squat before a squat stone mortar that's been polished smooth by centuries of pounding the surface worn like a river-worn pebble, and you grip the hefty pestle in both hands. Lanterns flicker around you, casting dancing shadows that leap across the rocky table as you ready the dried roots and leaves harvested just hours ago. You probably thought this was going to be some Insta-worthy smoothie recipe. Sit tight, no kale here, just ancient calm in powdered form. Historically, Cherokee mortars carved from soapstone and river cobbles date back to the Mississippian period around 900 CE and were often shared among families for communal medicine making. You drop a small handful of black cohosh root shavings and gray goldenrod bits into the bowl. Your palms press the heavy pestle down and begin a steady rhythmic grind that echoes your own heartbeat. Each downward thrust releases a soft, earthy dust that swirls in the lantern glow like miniature storm clouds. You lean in, inhaling a warm, sweet musk that makes you wonder if spirit worlds have their own version of Febreze. One herbalist nearby hums a playful tune. Some fringe healers believe that grinding to a chant tunes the medicine to your voice, though most dismiss it as a bit too karaoke for the underworld. As you work, you feel the hundreds of tiny fractures in the plant cells opening, releasing compounds designed to calm nerves. Real science meets spirit tradition. You catch your reflection in a dark puddle on the ground, serious face pestle in hand, ready to obliterate any restless soul's anxiety. A faint chuckle escapes you as you imagine offering a calm your ghost latte with extra foam of moonlit dew. Definitely not on today's menu. After several minutes of steady mashing, your arm begins to shake just a little, so you shift grip and slow your rhythm. Someone jokes, "Don't worry, your ghostly gym membership is included," and you grin, setting your teeth for the final grind. When the roots and leaves are reduced to a fine scented powder, you sweep it into a shallow bowl. The texture is soft, like talcum powder, but your nose twitches at the aroma. Honeyed mint mingles with subtle cedar undertones and a hint of sweet grass. Next comes infusion. You place a sturdy iron kettle over hot coals, the metal warming until it glows faintly. You dump the herb powder into the steaming water, and it hisses and bubbles, sending fragrant vapors spiraling upward like smoke signals from another realm. The lead herbalist sprinkles in a pinch of jewelweed petals and a sliver of maidenhair fern for extra soothing, while a younger apprentice hefts a deer antler stirrer, guiding the brew in slow, deliberate circles. You watch the swirl of pale green foam gathering at the edges, reminiscent of sea glass caught in a tide pool. As the infusion simmers, sweetgrass threads drift atop the surface, resembling tiny grass boats sailing toward tranquility. You lean in so close you could taste the steam on your lips. Guaranteed to calm even the sassiest spirit, someone whispers, and you stifle a laugh, picturing a phantom with an attitude problem tapping its ethereal foot. A fringe rumor holds that if you stir counterclockwise at the stroke of midnight, the brew will grant lucid dream visions. But which midnight? Historians still argue whether these midnight infusions were a standardized practice or improvised by individual healers under moonlight. Once the kettle's whistle has softened, you lift the lid and slide a wooden strainer into the mouth, capturing roots and fragments. The amber-green liquid drips drop by drop into waiting clay cups etched with clan symbols. You hand a cup to a fellow participant, your hands nearly brush, and for a moment You share the swirl of herbal steam rising like calm tendrils between you. A playful voice comments, double-fisted calmness hold my cup, earning a ripple of soft laughter. You cradle your cup in both hands, feeling the warmth seep through the clay into your palms. The scent is stronger now, richer, brimming with mint cedar and a whisper of honeyed vinegar from the vinegar weed. You tip the cup to your lips and sip the warmth flooding your chest like a gentle indoor fireplace on a crisp autumn night. The taste, slightly bitter, then sweet, finishing with a cool mint tingle that slides down your throat. You exhale, and the world seems to soften, edges blur. Lantern light diffuses, and even the night air feels thicker with comfort. A hush falls as the herbalists close their eyes and murmur a soft Cherokee blessing. The aroma clings to your senses, layering onto the crackle of the fire and the distant call of an owl. You take another sip this time, savoring every note, the bold root base, the floral mid-tones, the minty finish like a fine tea. If fine teas were brewed to calm souls rather than caffeinate them. Around you, the circle reclines on logs and woven mats, each person gazing into the flickering flames as if they hold the outline of the next breath. You remember the baskets of ramps, choke cherries, and orchids from earlier, and realize this infusion distills all those foraged treasures into a single moment of peace. Someone nearby murmurs, "It's like sipping a forest lullaby," and you nod, wondering if spirits hum along. A twig snaps in the underbrush, startling you for a heartbeat before you recall that every sound here is part of the symphony. You close your eyes and let the bruised warmth settle into your shoulders and jaw. The herbalist leader passes around small shells filled with crushed quartz sprinkles into the tea for its grounding energy, or so some fringe practitioners say. You watch white specks drift in your cup like stars lost in a green galaxy. As the ceremony winds down, each herbalist tilts their empty cup and tilts it again, as if coaxing out every last drop of tranquility. You follow suit, tilting your cup until only a drop remains, then hold it aloft in silent toast to calm. The final sip leaves a faint, minty afterglow, and you place the cup back on a flat stone, feeling a ripple of satisfaction. You stretch shoulders, loosening spine, releasing tension you didn't know you had. The rhythmic grind, the steam bath of aroma, the soft chanting, all have woven an almost hypnotic calm around you. You glance at the bubbling kettle, now cool to the touch, and imagine tomorrow's herbs waiting for your hands, your pestle, your breath. Ready for a ghost nap? Someone whispers, and you stifle a laugh, realizing you could probably nap anywhere after that brew. As you rise, the lanterns flicker in farewell, and the forest seems to exhale alongside you. Your heart still hums with the circle's rhythm, and you tuck a dried sprig of sweet grass behind your ear, a souvenir for tomorrow's sunrise. You step away from the stone table basket empty, but spirit brimming. The night air feels softer, your footsteps lighter, and the whisper of restless spirits seems to have drifted beyond earshot, at least until the next round of herb grinding. You pull your robe tighter against the cool breeze and glance back at the glowing clearing where ember and lantern light mark the spot you touched. calm and cup warm. You settle back onto a woven mat as the fire's glow flickers against the surrounding oaks. Steam from yesterday's infusion still lingering in the air like a loyal fog. A hush falls over the circle, broken only by the soft crackle of embers and the distant call of a barred owl. Tonight, the Herbalists prepare their voices instead of their pestles, weaving melodies meant to untangle restless spirits. You probably won't survive this without catching at least one earworm, and yes, spirits can get those too. Historians note that by the late 1800s, Cherokee medicine songs were documented by anthropologist James Mooney during his travels in the Smoky Mountains, highlighting their enduring power. The lead healer lifts a deer-hide drum at surface taut and inviting, and strikes at once with a carved wood mallet. The low resonant thump vibrates through your chest, syncing your heartbeat to the rhythm. Soft voices join in a lilting chant, sung in the Cherokee syllabary's ancient cadence. You feel the sound waves brush against your skin as if invisible hands are combing through your tense muscles. Fringe lore suggests that specific chant frequencies align with theta brainwaves to coax spirits into a dreamlike state. Though most scholars treat that idea as a karaoke myth. As the chant grows, you detect layers of deep bass line tapping on the hide, a mid-range hum from the chorus, and a high flute-like trill echoing off mossy stones. Each element balances the others, like a well-crafted symphony for the unconscious. You join in, half whispering the syllables with care, your tongue curling around unfamiliar sounds that taste of earth and echo of distant lightning storms. Historians still argue whether these melodic patterns were borrowed from Muskogee Creek neighbors or innovated entirely within Cherokee culture. A slight breeze stirs the lantern flames, carrying the chant's whisper into the dark woods. You inhale a mingled scent of cedar smoke and sweetgrass, noting how the fragrance amplifies each note. One herbalist murmurs, "If a spirit can't calm down for this try, our herbal latte," and you grin, remembering last night's brew. A second joke floats around, warning may cause phantom tap dancing, and you chuckle as the circle tilts their heads in mock horror at ghostly party tricks. Between verses, the lead healer offers whispered translations. Calm, release, return 3 simple commands flung toward wandering spirits like gentle boomerangs. You imagine those words arcing through the underbrush, knocking on spirit doors and offering relief from unseen burdens. She traces patterns in the air with her mallet, drawing invisible sigils that scholars believe mirror ancient star maps. Though some debate whether these gestures originated in Cherokee sky lore or later colonial era influences, you close your eyes, letting the chant's pulse guide you deeper into the ritual. Each beat becomes a heartbeat, each humming breath a tether between your world and the spirit realm. A fringe story insists that if you chant while standing barefoot on dew-soaked moss, your words echo into both worlds simultaneously. You shift your feet, feeling the cool, damp creep through your sandals as you test the claim and swear you sense a faint echo returning from the depths of the forest. The high trill rises bright and clear like a solitary whippoorwill answering a midnight siren call. You lean forward, lips barely moving, now fully immersed in the kinetic flow of sound. Memories of pounding the pestle in Section 4 come back rhythmic motion imprinted on muscle memory, now replaced by this new ephemeral percussion. You feel each drum thud ripple through your shoulders, loosening tension you didn't know you carried. Some herbalists clap softly on alternate beats, their hands cupped in precise form to sharpen the rhythm. Others sway in place, eyes half closed as though riding an invisible tide. You attempt a subtle sway yourself, marveling at how your body responds before your mind even catches on. Historians still argue whether women led these chants or if leadership was reserved for male healers. Tonight, you see both genders equally guiding the music, challenging that old assumption. A laugh ripples through the group when a stray leaf flutters down into the drum's hollow. Someone quips nature's guest percussionist, and even the lead healer grins, tapping out a surprise solo as if to audition for a ghost band. You join in, your voice blending in more confidently, now feeling the chant settle into your bones like an ancestral lullaby. The tempo slows as the chant circles back to its opening notes. You sense the color of sound shift from bright amber to deep indigo, as if the melody itself is sinking toward sleep. The fire's crackle softens in your ears, replaced by the chant's fading echo. You swallow, tasting a final note of cedar smoke and honeyed mint. From the previous day's infusion still lingering on your tongue. As the final syllable drifts away, the group falls silent. The only movement is the embers sighing against ash and the gentle ripple of trees overhead. You open your eyes to see the healed smiles of your fellow participants, each framed in warm lantern light. A third joke surfaces. Well, if ghosts have group therapy, this is it. And a wave of relieved laughter circles through the clearing. The lead healer lifts her mallet once more, tapping the drum in a single, sustained note that seems to hang between worlds. You feel it travel down your spine, releasing the last tendrils of tension. Return in peace, she whispers in Cherokee, voice soft enough that only the closest hear. The drum's echo fades like a final breath. You rise, senses heightened, yet calm, as if the entire forest has exhaled with you. The chant has cleared not only agitated spirits, but also the lingering knots in your own mind. Lantern light now feels gentle rather than glaring, each shadow softened. You glance at the baskets you once filled with herbs, recalling how that harvest and infusion led you here to the chant's quiet power. You take a slow step toward the path leading back to the steam baths, the earth beneath your feet pulsing with newfound ease. Somewhere beyond the trees, the barred owl lets out another blessing, and you lift your chin, offering a silent thanks. The night feels wide open, now unburdened, as if the spirits themselves have drifted off to dreams of cedar-scented peace. And there you stand, nestled between the echo of drum and chant, feeling at once connected to centuries of Cherokee wisdom and gloriously, wonderfully present in this gentle moment of shared song. You step into a low dome-shaped chamber hewn from river cane and covered with bark-stitched hides, the entrance sealed behind you with a heavy cloak, so only a thin shaft of moonlight sneaks in. Steam hisses as hot river stones, glowing embers of Earth's furnace, are hurled onto a shallow pit at the center. You probably thought this was going to be a rainforest spa. But here, the herbs do all the heavy lifting, not tiny cucumbers over your eyes. Historically, Cherokee steam baths were noted by European explorers in the 18th century for their role in both physical purification and spirit care rituals, long before modern wellness trends co-opted indigenous practices. The room fills with thick, milky vapor that clings to your skin like a second slippery layer. You feel each bead of moisture forming on your forehead, sliding down your temples and purling along your collarbone in a slow-motion shower. A faint citrus and mint aroma drifts in from a bundle of sweet fern and cedar, placed atop the stones, releasing a scent so fresh you half expect a forest sprite to pop out and remind you to recycle. Someone nearby cracks, "Guess even ghosts need minty fresh breath," and you stifle a laugh, though the steam nearly swallows your grin. Against the chamber wall, braided bundles of jewelweed and rose mallow hang like fragrant banners. An herbalist plucks one and whispers a Cherokee blessing before tucking it into the steam's heart. You lean closer, inhaling the floral warmth, and swear you can taste hints of honeyed petals in the mist. Fringe lore claims that if you whisper your worries into the steam, the vapor carries your anxiety straight to the spirit world, though most dismiss that as a bit too much self-help for specters. Your breaths deepen as the heat blankets your body. Each inhale draws more calm into your lungs. You sink onto a woven mat, legs crossed, steam rising around you like a living cloak. The granite cold sweat lodges of Plains tribes offer dry heat, but this Cherokee-style steam bath drapes you in humid warmth, like a spider's web knitted from clouds. Historians still argue whether southeastern steam therapies evolved independently or resulted from cultural exchanges with neighboring tribes, but tonight you feel the lineage of generations in every droplet. As you settle, a fern frond is dipped into a small bowl of spring water, then waved through the air. Tiny droplets sizzle as they meet the hot stones. You hear the soft hiss and watch vapor spiral upward, forming ghostly tendrils that curl toward the rafters. A voice murmurs, "Add a little sassafras for spirit sass," and you snort, imagining a haunted guest demanding a stronger kick. You shift to avoid over-scorching your calf, then lean back as warmth seeps into muscles you didn't know were tense. The lead healer guides you to lean your forehead against a smooth riverstone headrest. You rest your brow, eyes closed, and let the heat blur the edges of your vision. Steam beads drip from the hide roof onto the stone rim, plink-plunk like raindrops on a tin roof, an ASMR moment you never knew you craved. A faint chuckle drifts through the chamber when someone quips, "Guest speakers include your inner ghost," and even in the steam, your smile feels grounded. With each minute, the aroma deepens. Cedar wood, honeyed jewelweed, and a whisper of mint from crushed wintergreen leaves you tucked in earlier. You recall that infusion from Section 4, your forest lullaby tea, and marvel how scent alone can weave comfort into your bones. You inhale deeply, marveling at how vapor can capture a forest's essence and deliver it straight to your marrow. A gentle drumbeat begins outside, muffled through the hide walls, marking time like a slow heartbeat. You feel the rhythm resonate through the steam, combining with your own pulse to create a lullaby for body and soul. Fringe herbalists love to claim that chanting over the steam bath tunes your biofield, though most scholars treat that notion as a bit too much karaoke for the spirits. You hum along quietly, letting the vibration rumble through your chest. The heat becomes almost hypnotic, each exhale releasing tension you didn't know you'd been carrying. Your robe clings damply, and you shift position so the steam swirls around your back like playful fingers brushing worries away. Someone whispers, "This place is the ultimate ghost sauna," prompting a round of suppressed snickers, because who doesn't want their spirit to sweat out stress? Minutes stretch into a gentle eternity. You half expect a vision of an ancestor in buckskin moccasins to materialize, though so far all you see are shifting clouds of vapor that glow orange in the lantern light. Scholars still argue whether these steam baths were reserved for medicine practitioners or open to the entire clan. But beneath this hush, you feel a shared communion that blurs any line between healer and patient. Softly, the lead herbalist uncovers a small wooden bowl filled with ground gray goldenrod and black cohosh powder. She sprinkles a pinch onto the stones, and a new wave of scent erupts honeyed spice, mingling with cedar's evergreen breath. The steam roils and hisses, the fragrance intensifying until you swear you can taste it on your tongue. You cough, once blinking through the mist, and someone jokes, guaranteed to clear phantom sinuses, sending a ripple of quiet laughter through the chamber. You press a hand to your chest, feeling the warmth as it seeps inward, radiating calm. The combination of heat, moisture, and scent forms a triad of comfort so enveloping you almost forget the world beyond these walls. Steam condenses on your lashes, and as droplets trickle down, you imagine each one carrying away a fragment of worry or doubt. As the session winds down, the herbalists lift the wooden lid of the chamber, allowing cool night air to gust in like a chilled embrace. The contrast between steamy enclosure and crisp outside air wraps around you in a final bracing sigh. You stand legs a bit wobbly and step out onto damp stones, blinking as moonlight floods the chamber. A soft debate emerges. Historians still argue whether the steam bath's primary purpose was spiritual cleansing or merely practical therapy for aching bodies. You shrug. Tonight, it felt like both a sacred spa that washed away restless spirits and sore muscles in one go. You laugh softly, muttering, "If ghosts ever demand a spa day, I know where to book them." And a few herbalists exhale amused breath into the night. You pat your slightly raw skin and wrap your robe tighter, feeling invigorated yet profoundly calm. The steam bath has done its work. Tensions dissolved, worries lifted, spirits soothed. You glance back at the chamber entrance where embers still glow faintly and step onto the moonlit path toward the next ritual. Skin tingling, senses sharpened. You trail behind the circle as they step into a clearing lit by lanterns perched on forked sticks, feathers and small gourds dangling from their handles. A gentle breeze stirs the night air, carrying the spicy smoke of cedar and sweetgrass that curls around tree trunks like lazy serpents. You probably won't survive this without smelling at least 3 different incense notes vying for your attention. Historically, European missionaries in the 1700s noted Cherokee healing rites involving smoke for purification, writing that the mist rises to carry prayers long before modern aromatherapy ever existed. The lead herbalist holds aloft a fan woven from hawk feathers, its quills bound with sinew and adorned with painted clan symbols. She dips it into a shallow basket of smoldering white oak chips, then flicks the ember gently so thin wisps drift upward. You inhale deeply, tasting wood smoke sweetened by juniper berries tucked amidst the chips. A fellow participant murmurs, "Fortune favors the ghost with the best scented trail," and you can't help but grin, picturing a specter choosing between eau de swamp and cedar breeze. She begins fanning the smoke toward a row of river stones laid in a spiral pattern on the ground. Each stone absorbs a hint of the scent, warming as it smolders, then releases slow puffs that drift skyward. You crouch to feel the heat radiating off one stone, noting how the smoke settles into the low grasses like drifting fog. Fringe lore claims that cedar smoke soothes angry spirits by mimicking the scent of lightning-struck wood. But most scholars treat that as a fanciful echo rather than hard evidence. Everyone follows suit: hawk feathers, eagle plumes, even a single turkey tail fanned through smoldering bundles of bloodroot. You wave your own handful, mindful of sparks, and watch the curl of violet-tinged vapor that smells faintly of metallic tang. Ghosts love a good metallic note, someone jokes, like a post-apocalyptic perfume trend. You chuckle, imagining spectral influencers hawking phantom colognes. The air thickens with layered aromas: cedar's balsamic sweetness, sweet grasses vanilla brightness, and the sharp bite of bloodroot. You let the smoke waft over your arms, shoulders, and neck, feeling the invisible tendrils slip beneath your shirt collar to tickle your spine. A soft laugh escapes you. I should open a chain of spirit spas, and someone quips back, "Only if you accept ghost bucks," prompting a ripple of amused exhalations. The herbalists pivot, chanting a low, single-note hum that resonates with each breath. The featherheads flick rhythmically, sending smoke in gentle pulses across the spiral of stones. You feel the chant's vibration merge with the crackling embers, creating a multi-sensory tide that seems to press lightly against your skin. Historians still argue whether these smoke chants emerged from borrowed Creek traditions or evolved independently among the Cherokee. But tonight, you sense both heritage and innovation swirling in each plume. As the circle moves clockwise around the spiral, you follow, stepping carefully so you don't smudge the pattern. The lead healer tips her fan skyward, sending smoke in a slender column that drifts until it disappears into the canopy. Sending this one straight to the VIP lounge in the spirit realm, she whispers, and you stifle a laugh, picturing ghostly velvet ropes and spectral bouncers. A fringe tradition suggests that each feather type calls a different spirit clan: hawk to courage, owl to wisdom, pelican to healing, though most dismiss these classifications as too neat for the messy spirit world. You test the claim by waving an owl feather through a fading ember, inhaling the cool, slightly medicinal smoke. A sudden breeze whistles through the clearing, making you jump, and someone teases owl-approved "watch your back, dreamwalker," which makes you grin, even though the breeze might just be the wind. Midway around the spiral, the herbalists pause. The elder picks up a gourd rattle filled with quartz chips and shakes it softly, the tinkling sound mingling with distant cricket choir. The rattler's rhythm syncs with the hum, reinforcing the smoke's gentle push toward the stone's center. You tap your foot unconsciously, riding that sound wave, marveling at how tactile and audible the ritual feels, like a massage for your senses. You lean in as the lead herbalist plucks a smoldering twig of sweetgrass and moves it near your forearm. The smoke drifts over the hair on your arm, standing it on end in a delicate shiver. "Ready for your ghost to chill out?" she asks, voice soft. You nod, blinking as your arm warms under the fragrant veil. You joke, "If my ghost starts channeling yoga, I'm out," and the circle releases a collective giggle that ripples through the night. Beyond, the spiral fireflies dance their glow, punctuating the smoke like fireworks sparks against twilight. You imagine each flicker as a spirit acknowledging the ritual, though most scientists chalk it up to mating signals. Still, in this smoky cathedral of cedar, who's to say any natural phenomenon isn't a bit supernatural? The herbalists shift positions, now standing in a line, each gently wafting smoke toward the next person. You step up, and an apprentice tips a handful of burning clay-colored vine shavings into the embers. The vine smoke smells earthy, almost like toasted chestnuts. You wave your hand, watching the smoke trail, then inhale rich, nutty comfort that sears into your memory. Ghostly chestnut latte, anyone you murmur, and even in the hush, you hear stifled snickers. A hush falls as the lead herbalist solemnly dips her feather into water and flicks the droplets into the smoke plume. The droplets hiss, sending a fresh cloud that glows pearl white in the lantern light. She chants a single word in Cherokee that rolls off her tongue like liquid silk. The word feels like a living thing rising in the smoke and quivering among the tree boughs. You sense the ritual's power pivot here from playful aromatics to something deeper, an invocation. You close your eyes, letting the cool droplets and warm smoke weave together on your skin. The contrast jolts you awake, then soothes you into stillness. A fringe myth says droplet-altered smoke reveals messages when you exhale through pursed lips, whistles, and echoes that only attuned ears catch. You purse your lips and exhale slowly, listening for a whisper. All you hear is your own breath, but it feels like a secret handshake with the unseen world. As the invocation ends, the circle releases a unified sigh. The smoke spirals upward, thinning as it slips between leaf and branch. You open your eyes to see lanterns reflecting in the haze, each light softened and haloed by the mist. The scattered stones of the spiral glow faintly orange, still warm from the ritual's energy. A final fringe flourish, someone tosses a pinch of dried jewel weed powder into the heart of the spiral, producing a brief, lavender-infused puff. You inhale one last time, tasting cool floral sweetness before the smoke dissipates. That's our signature scent. Someone whispers, "Ghosts, line up for this." You laugh softly, realizing that even in solemn rites, humor threads through like the smoke itself. When the smoke clears, the spiral of stones remains untouched, but transformed, each one imbued with cedar, sweetgrass, oak, and vine. You step forward, and curl a hand over one stone's warm edge, letting the faint heat seep into your palm. The moment feels charged, as if the earth beneath you hums with restful energy. Historians still argue whether these stones served merely as markers or as active conduits for healing power. But in the quiet that follows, you sense their purpose is complete. You rise, brushing embers from your robes, and glance around at your fellow participants. Their faces, lit by lantern glow, reflect calm eyes, soft shoulders, relaxed breaths measured. You take a deep inhale, savoring the layered scents one last time. The clearing feels lighter now, as if unseen burdens have drifted away with the smoke. With a final nod to the elder, you step away from the spiral feet crunching on pine needles. Lanterns bob as the circle disperses, each person carrying their feather fans and secret smile jitters. You inhale the night air, cool, crisp, and startlingly clear, like the moment after singing the perfect lullaby. You tuck an eagle feather into your pocket, a souvenir steeped in smoke and ceremony. As you head toward the water offering setup, you feel the ritual's imprint on your skin and soul, a gentle reminder that sometimes all it takes is the right incense, a well-timed joke, and a feather's whisper to soothe the most stubborn of spirits. You follow the lantern-lit path downhill, the damp earth giving way to a soft, mossy bank where a crystal-clear spring bubbles up from the rocks like a hidden wellspring of serenity. The night air tastes fresher here, laced with the mineral tang of pure water, and you probably won't survive this without wanting to take a sip straight from the source, though the herbalists might gently counsel against that. Historically, Cherokee clans revered spring water for its healing power, and early European naturalists in the 1700s noted that tribal elders made pilgrimages to sacred springs to perform cleansing rites long before mineral spas became a modern fad. An elder healer kneels at the water's edge, cupping both hands beneath the gentle flow. You crouch beside her toes, brushing cool pebbles as she lifts the water in a smooth arc and pours it back onto the bank, murmuring a blessing in Cherokee. Each drop kisses the earth with a soft splash like applause from the ground itself. A younger apprentice dips a hollowed-out gourd and fills it to the brim before passing it to you. "Your turn," she says with a wink. You tilt the gourd, letting the water spill over your fingertips and into the stream, a silent thank you, whispered to the unseen spirits who wander these woods. As you repeat the offering 3 times, once for mind, once for body, once for spirit, you feel the cool liquid trace a path down your hands, carrying away tension you didn't know you had. Fringe Lord insists that if you make your final pour without hesitation, restless spirits will drink in your intent and leave your dreams undisturbed. Though most scholars treat that claim as a bit too neat for the unpredictable spirit world. Moments later, the group fans out along the spring's edge, each person choosing a slightly different spot, where the water gushes from rock to rock. You find yourself at a small cascade, where the spring tiptoes down a series of miniature stone ledges, creating a natural fountain that glimmers in lantern light. You kneel carefully, placing a smooth river stone at the lip of the cascade and pouring a ladleful of water over it. The droplets scatter like silver confetti, reflecting tiny sparks of light that dance across wet bark and fern fronds. Someone beside you chuckles, Party Trick Spirit Edition, and you snort picturing ghosts catching confetti in spectral hats. Each water offering ceremony seems equal parts ritual and playful performance. No wonder the woodland creatures peek from behind ferns, curious whether they're missing out on the fun. The elder healer invites you to scoop water into a shallow wooden bowl, then whispers, "Speak your hope for peace as you pour." You purse your lips and murmur a vow, something about calm nights and gentle dreams before tilting the bowl, so the water spills in a thin silvery sheet. You watch it fan out over moss and fallen leaves, imagining it carrying your promise to wandering spirits like a message in a bottle. Historians still argue whether these water offerings originally coincided with full moons or were tied to seasonal cycles of rainfall. But under tonight's crescent moon, you'll feel the ritual's timing is perfect. A fringe tradition involves adding a single herb leaf to the offering, a sliver of mint or a petal of rose mallow, so that when the water flows downstream, it carries a herbal whisper to distant spirits. You pluck a mint leaf from your pouch and float it on the water's surface before inhaling its cool aroma as you watch the leaf drift away. It bobs along tiny sail of green until it slips under a submerged rock and disappears. "There goes my minty manifesto," you whisper, laughter soft but certain. Suddenly, a chorus of frogs croaks in response, their throaty songs echoing like a spontaneous encore. You lean back, grinning, as the spring's rippling murmur and the frog choir blend into a watery lullaby. You realize that even the animals seem to respect these offerings. Maybe they're in on the secret that spirits share quarters with turtles, otters, and amphibians. The group reconvenes at a large flat stone that slopes gently into a deeper pool. Here water gathers in a mirror-smooth surface that reflects lantern light, like molten silver. The elder gestures for everyone to place their hands just above the pool's surface, palms down, and then pour handfuls of water simultaneously. You straighten, bowl raised, and count down in Cherokee, Osta, Tlov, Usti, Good 3-1. On Usti, the collective splash sends ripples across the pool, each ring expanding outward until it laps softly against the stone. You watch the ripples merge and collide, creating a complex dance of circles that gradually fade into stillness. A playful voice murmurs, "Ghost pool parties in session," and you laugh, feeling the tension in your chest untangle like the ripples themselves. This communal pour feels like a handshake among souls, a shared breath of water that binds all present living and otherwise in a moment of unity. After the ripples calm, the elder dips her fingers into the pool and flicks drops skyward. Each droplet sparkles in the lantern glow as it arcs upward, then falls back into the pool with a gentle plop. She explained that these droplets call spirits to witness the ceremony, inviting them to partake in the gift you've just offered. You cup your hands for a final offering, releasing a slow shower of water that shimmers in the night air before settling into the depths. Someone teases offerings delivered Prime Express service, and the group chuckles, the sound mingling with the ongoing chorus of frogs. You inhale deeply, tasting the crisp, slightly chlorinated note of spring water as you exhale. The air feels cleaner, now scrubbed by water and intention. A quiet debate arises as the healers discuss whether the water should be poured from gourds, carved wooden bowls, or clay vessels, each material believed to impart subtle differences in spirit resonance. You listen intrigued by the nuances: gourds for organic humility, wood for ancestral connection, clay for earth's memory. Historians still argue whether vessel choice was regionally standardized or a personal preference passed down within families, but you find the conversation as fascinating as the ceremony itself. Finally, the healers invite you to taste the spring water, just a sip, to seal your part in the ritual. You lift a small shell, dip it into the pool, and sip. The cool water glides down your throat like silk, leaving you with a hint of minerals, the taste of stone and sky. It's the purest water you've ever tasted, free from modern filtration, carrying with it a sense of deep calm and connection. You set the shell aside and rise, splashing your face one last time before brushing dripping hair back behind your ear. The spring's gentle murmur continues, promising to flow long after you've departed, carrying away worries and comforting unsettled spirits along its winding path. As you step back onto the mossy bank, you feel lighter, almost buoyant, as if part of you now flows within the spring itself. You glance at the elder healer, who offers a nod and a soft smile, then turns to guide the circle onward to the next ritual. You tuck your gourd into your pouch pockets, still warm from the earlier steam bath, and follow the firelit trail back uphill, heart humming with the spring's rhythm. Lanterns bob above you as the group ascends, leaving behind the pool, but bringing its clear promise of calm into the night. You kneel before a low half-circle of river stones on bare earth, where scattered white deer-bone fragments rest like shy confessions under lantern glow. Each bone piece, a jaw segment here, a metacarpal chip there, bears smooth carvings etched by generations past, tiny notches that glint in the firelight. You crouch, fingertips brushing against the cool, chalky surface. These bones once belonged to deer that roamed the Appalachian forest centuries ago. Early Cherokee diviners polished similar fragments for spirit reading as early as the late 1600s, when colonial observers noted bones that whisper secrets. The lead healer invites you to pick a bone, each representing wind, water, earth, or fire, four elemental messages for unsettled spirits. You select a long fragment etched with parallel lines. The texture is worn smooth like a river pebble, and you almost expect to find a fortune cookie message tucked inside. You cradle it in both hands, feeling its weight and warmth, then close your eyes and let intuition tingle up your arms. A fringed tale insists that if you whisper your name to the bone, it will tilt toward the direction of your truest fear, but most dismiss that as bedtime story fodder for restless minds. Hands hovering over the bones, you sense slight vibrations as if the earth itself hums beneath you. You let the bone drop onto a circle drawn in the dirt, its landing sending a faint click echoing through the clearing. A friend whispers, "Nice tap you got there," and you grin. Maybe the spirits have a karaoke mic for bone percussion. Historically, colonial diaries from the 1700s noted Cherokee diviners using deer bone rattles and fragments to interpret omens. Before diplomatic councils, blending practical counsel with spirit guidance. Next, you pick a smaller, zigzag-marked bone. It spins slightly on landing, then stops pointing north. The healer explains that water bones aligning with higher ground signal a spirit thirsting for release from grief. Spirits always know where the snack table is. Someone quips, and you laugh as tension loosens like smoke dispersing. Fringe herbalists sometimes anoint bones with crushed quartz powder to magnify messages. Historians still argue whether that was widespread practice or later improvisation. A hush falls as the group collectively reads the bone placements against river stones warmed by embers. Earth bones near the circle's edge suggest spirits anchored by old grudges, and fire bones tilting toward the hearthmark, those seeking warmth and reconciliation. You recall the steam bath's humid hush. From Section 6, the feather smokes curl in Section 7, and the spring's clear lullaby in Section 8. Each ritual thread weaves into this tapestry of calm. Before you leave, the elder shakes a small gourd rattle filled with leftover bone chips, releasing a tinkling chime that layers over the hush. The sound conjures childhood memories of wind chimes on a porch. Yet here it rings with ancestral resonance. You feel the vibration travel down your spine, reminding you of the drum beats from Section 5, a full sensory loop uniting the night's rituals. Fringe tales claim rattling triggers a spirit's memory, awakening its willingness to share wisdom. Historians still argue whether bone divination rites were central to political councils or reserved for personal healing ceremonies. But you sense they bridged both realms seamlessly. As you handle each fragment again, you note a distinct scent, faint earthiness mingled with cedar smoke and a hint of honeysuckle. You hold the zigzag bone close to your nose, inhaling that layered aroma, and giggle when someone suggests marketing Bone Whisperer perfume. Under the lantern's halo, worn carvings flicker their edges, softened by countless hands passing them down. You almost feel a friendly tug, as though the bone itself appreciates your attentiveness. The healer invites a newcomer to try bone reading. She places a fragment in his palm and guides his hand. His face lights up when the bone clicks against a stone in a way he recognizes a sign of ancestral approval, he says. That kick of connection feels electric, like a ghost texting you an emoji. The group chuckles softly, united by that spark. You feel grounded in cracked earth and chrome white bone, soothed by shared discovery. You exchange bones with a fellow participant, experiencing camaraderie bound by clicking, rubbing fragments. You remember the feather smoke's tickle on your arm in Section 7. Now bones tickle your fingertips with cool solidity. A fringe myth says messages are clearest at midnight stroke. Yet historians still debate whether timing tied to lunar phases or seasonal observances. As the session winds down, the healer gathers each fragment into a small buckskin pouch inscribed with clan symbols. She whispers a final Cherokee blessing, Ostaganado, meaning peaceful completion. You feel the pouch's weight at your hip comfortingly steady, like the mortar's heft in Section 4 or the clay cup's warmth in Section 4's infusion. You recall each ritual's texture, moss, steam, water smoke, and see bone divination knit them into a full-spectrum experience. You pause to run your thumb along the leather seams, feeling the bone edges poke gently through. It reminds you of that polished riverstone headrest in Section 6. The continuity of texture from forest floor to bone to leather grounds, you in a tactile continuum, whispering of land and lineage. You catch a fox's eye glinting at the forest edge, and you wink, thinking perhaps you share a secret handshake with wildlife now in on the ritual. That moment feels like a homecoming spirit human and beast united under the moon. A final fringe flourish, someone sprinkles a pinch of jewelweed dust over the pouch, dubbing it an anti-snooze bone booster. You laugh, recalling the frog chorus's encore in Section 8. The night air envelops you like a soft blanket, each exhale a sigh of calm. The bones rest secure at your side, silent tokens of messages shaped by wind, water, earth, and fire. You rise, brushing dirt from your knees as lantern light softens into pools of gold. You tuck the bone pouch under your arm and peer into the forest, sensing spirits drawing nearer, their turmoil eased by precise clicks and tender interpretations. The ghostly disco of fireflies flickers along the path as the circle disperses toward the clearing where the final wind down awaits. You inhale once more, cedar smoke, mint honeysuckle, and bones whisper, an olfactory echo of all you've experienced tonight. You glance back at the healing circle now empty, save for river stones still warm with ritual energy. A final joke escapes you. Bone to be wild ghosts, and the night carries your laugh into the trees. With bone messages in hand and a heart lightened, you follow the lantern-lined trail upward, ready for the next step in this gentle journey of spirit and sleep. You step into a wider clearing, where a circle of logs surrounds a low stone hearth still glowing from earlier rites, and settle onto a carved cedar bench beside fellow participants. The air is thick with the mingled aromas of steam bath cedar and feather smoke cedar. Yes, cedars on cedars, because redundancy equals relaxation. Right? Tonight's feature presentation stars a revered Cherokee medicine woman known as Auntie Waya, whose gentle touch has soothed more than a few wayward ancestor spirits. Historically, Cherokee medicine women often traveled between satellite villages recorded in missionary journals of the 1800s, bringing not only herbal remedies, but also spiritual care to kin and clan alike. Auntie Waya's voice unfurls like soft smoke as she begins her case study. Last winter, she says a family came to me frantic, their great-great-grandmother's spirit awakened with a fury that rattled windows and snapped branches. You lean forward, heart humming in sync with the ember's soft crackle. She explains she first prepared a mild infusion white snake root elderflower and a pinch of jewelweed powder echoing the brew from Section 4. But with an added twist, she stirred it counterclockwise under a waning moon. Fringe lore claims that counterclockwise stirring rewinds spirit time, but historians still argue whether this was a long-standing Cherokee tradition or a post-contact improvisation influenced by European folk magic. You feel the smooth grain of the cedar bench beneath your palm, recalling the riverstone headrest's polish in Section 6. As Auntie Waya pours the pale tea into clay cups, she recounts placing a feather from a barred owl stripped and cleaned. You remember the owl feather wafts from Section 7 into each cup, for its reputed wisdom-conveying power. You sniff the rim's faint barnyard aroma and grin. Nothing says wisdom like a midnight barnyard visit, you whisper, muffling a laugh as others stifle theirs. 3 frogs croak in the distance. Apparently, they're back for the encore from Section 8's spring ceremony. Auntie Waya continues. I had the family sit in a semicircle around the hearth, each holding their cup. I spoke the words of comfort. You are loved, you are not forgotten 3 times. Like the water offerings in Section 8, but spoken into tea rather than spring water. You cup your hands around the imaginary mug and murmur the phrase with her savoring the cadence as much as the scent. A soft breeze stirs and you joke, if spirits demand a latte art, I'm ordering the foam heart, drawing a ripple of quiet amusement. She tells how the ancestor spirit first manifested as flickering candlelight that leapt across the hearth, nearly setting the hearth ropes ablaze. The family gasped ghosts with pyromaniac tendencies who knew Auntie Waya rose and pressed her open palm to the hearthstone, humming a healing chant. You feel the memory of the drumbeat from Section 5 vibrate in your chest, a familiar lullaby of safety. I pressed until I felt the stone warm under my hand, she says, and I felt her tremor like a frightened child. You blink, imagining a spectral toddler sobbing behind the veil, then snicker, note to self, bring Ghost Teddy next time. After that, she guided each family member to lay a hand on the hearth's rim, then passed a plume of mixed cedar and sweetgrass smoke, just like in Section 7, over their joined hands. We sent a silent invitation to her spirit. Waya explains a lullaby of scent and song. You picture invisible guests drifting in for a sniff test. Cedar, sweetgrass, I'll stay for the encore. A fringe tradition suggests ghosts judge incense quality on a 5-point scale, but historians still argue whether such ratings date back to pre-contact ceremonies or emerged from traders' jokes. Waya's tone softens. She appeared next as a translucent figure in buckskin, trembling with regret. I offered her a pinch of gray goldenrod from my pouch symbol of release and whispered, "Your journey here is done." You inhale sharply, tasting honeyed mint on your tongue as if the herbs themselves whisper the promise. You remember the goldenrod powder sprinkled in Section 6's steam bath, the same flower, same promise, different medium. Her form shivered once, then dissolved into a plume of golden pollen that drifted toward the moon. Waya says, voice barely above the hearth's murmur. You close your eyes, picturing golden pollen drifting through the trees like dandelion seeds. It feels like watching a magician's final flourish, but this one frees souls rather than hides rabbits. A soft snort escapes you, and you murmur, "I'd pay for a memory wipe like that," prompting a few gentle chuckles in the dark. Auntie Waya then had the family join hands and circle the hearth 3 times, chanting Asta, the Cherokee word for harmony, each step closing an ancestral wound. You trace the circle's imagined path at your feet, recalling how bone fragments clicked into place in Section 9. Another circle, another method of closure. By the last circle, Waya continues, their faces were serene. The storm had passed. You inhale the distant smoke of sweetgrass, imagining the hush of spirits settling like fog after dawn. She concludes, healing isn't only herbs or chants, it's movement, scent, voice, and above all, shared intention. You nod, feeling the gentle weight of shared intention wrap around you like a soft quilt. Fringe storytellers claim that intention alone can unspool spirit attachments. But historians still argue whether intention's power was ever documented in early oral histories or later romanticized by ethnographers. Auntie Waya offers each of you a small sprig of gray goldenrod tied with sinew. You accept feeling its papery leaf edge whisper against your palm. She instructs you to tuck it behind your ear or under your pillow tonight, a portable reminder that release is possible. You slip it in joking gray goldenrod, the original stress ball, and earn a chorus of stifled laughter. As the logs cool to embers, Waya dims her voice to a whisper. You lean in so close you can feel her warm breath. Remember, she says, gentle does it. Spirits respond best to kindness, not confrontation. You nod, heart fluttering, and murmur back, got it gentle with ghosts. No ghost busting, earning a soft giggle from the circle. You rise and stretch limbs, loosening from hours of ritual immersion, recalling the steam chamber's sway from Section 6 and the ribcage tickle of feather smoke from Section 7. Auntie Waya's case study feels like a master class in compassionate care, weaving methods from every ritual you've experienced tonight into a seamless tapestry of healing. She offers a final blessing in Cherokee Go-Wielvna, meaning be at ease. You echo it in your mind as you step away from the hearth, the goldenrod sprig behind your ear, warming your temple. The night feels softer now, edges blurred, air saturated with possibility. You glance at the empty cedar bench embers glowing faintly and realize that just like that ancestor spirit, you've been guided home to calm. You follow the soft path toward the wind-down clearing, each footstep lighter, carrying Auntie Waya's wisdom in your pocket and her lullaby in your heart. As you go, you whisper to the night, thank you, great ghost. Grandma and the forest answers with a distant owl's soft hoot. Tonight, healing wasn't just history. It was your own gentle ghost story. You settle onto a soft blanket at the edge of the fire-lit clearing, watching embers drift like lazy fireflies. Before the circle begins a spirited, scholarly sparring Cherokee herbalist versus shaman debate. You probably won't survive this without taking sides or at least forming an opinion, but spoiler alert, both camps bring potent herbs to the table. Historically, by the early 19th century, European observers noted distinct roles among Cherokee healers. Some specialized in plant-based remedies, while others claimed spirit journeys. But whether these were separate herbalist and shaman roles remains debated. A young herbalist stands basket at her feet and waves a sprig of sweet grass. Our ancestors, she says, voice lilting, relied on observable plant properties, trial error, and deep-rooted lore. She crushes a leaf between her fingers, releasing a minty aroma that drifts over the circle. You inhale, tasting that fresh sweetness in your nostrils, and feel a faint tickle along your spine, as if the scent itself nudges calm. Fringe lore asserts that sweetgrass plucked under the waxing moon grants visions of ancestral gardens, though most scholars treat that as bedtime story territory for two curious spirits. Across from her, a self-styled shaman adjusts a feather headdress, its eagle and turkey tail strands catching the flicker of torchlight. He raises a deer-hide drum and taps a quiet rhythm. Healing, he intones, is not merely botanical, but a journey of the soul one that demands trance divination and spirit guides. You feel the drumbeat pulse through your chest, jostling any remaining tension loose like dandelion fluff on a breeze. You glance at your neighbor, who's swaying gently in time, eyes half closed. Apparently, this debate doubles as an ASMR experience. The Herbalist counters, but our earliest records show Cherokee midwives using black cohosh poultices for labor pains, purely herbal, no spirit journeys documented. You nod, recalling the pungent scent from Section 2's plant identification, black cohosh's musky sweetness that anchored restless souls and bodies alike. A fringe claim insists that black cohosh was once offered to spirit guests in place of tobacco, though most dismiss that as a post-contact adaptation. The shaman grins. True black cohosh soothes the body, but it's the invocation of spirit water that completes the healing rite where one must journey inward, guided by guardian animals. He gestures to a small shell filled with spring water from Section 8, its surface rippling in lantern light. You lean forward, catching glimpses of moonlight dancing on the water, an echo of the ripple ceremony you performed earlier. You can almost hear that ghostly frog choir chanting along. A hush falls as both sides present evidence-dried herb bundles versus spirit bundle rattles. You feel torn on one hand, the steady comfort of steam baths, Section 6, and herbal infusions, Section 4. On the other, the spine-tingling thrill of feather smoke rites, Section 7, and bone divination, Section 9. Historians still argue whether Cherokee spiritual care primarily followed herbal empiricism or if the shamanic component was equally central and codified in oral lore. Someone beside you murmurs, "It's like debating whether tea or coffee woke you up first," and you stifle a laugh, imagining a spirit barista taking orders. The herbalist smirks and offers the shaman a cup of freshly steeped goldenrod infusion. "Try my potion," she says, "and tell me it doesn't ground your soul." He takes a polite sip, eyebrows rising as the honeyed mint finish warms his throat. "Not bad for a plant nerd," he concedes, eliciting a ripple of chuckles. Encouraged, the shaman dips his fingers into the shell of spirit water and flicks droplets toward the ritual drum. Each droplet lands with a soft plink, the sound echoing like distant raindrops on a tin roof. Spirit water opens the portal to spirit wisdom, he announces. You feel a cool spray on your forearm, an unexpected tickle that makes you shiver with delight. Fringe herbalists claim that adding a pinch of jewelweed powder intensifies the portal, though most scholars treat this as a theatrical flourish rather than established practice. The herbalist raises an eyebrow. "And what of our documented steam chamber traditions?" she demands. Early Cherokee often combined steam baths with botanical brews before any journeying clean body, clear mind better signal-to-noise ratio, as we'd say today. You nod enthusiastically, remembering how the steam sauna's milky vapor wrapped around your skin in Section 6, coaxing away restless spirit sweat with cedar and jewelweed scents. The shaman taps his drum twice, silencing her. "You're missing the point. Steam cleanses the vessel, but spirit journeying polishes it. The healer must travel in the dream world, gather the spirit story, then return with guidance." He closes his eyes, begins a low chant, and you feel a subtle shift in the air, almost as if ancient winds swirl through the clearing. Historians still argue whether these trance techniques were widespread in Cherokee culture or adapted from Iroquois and Creek neighbors during intertribal exchanges. Intrigued, you close your eyes and hum along, letting the drum's deep resonance swirl through your bones. You recall the bone fragments clicking in section 9, each fragment whispering elemental truths. You almost expect to see a flicker of spirit mist behind your eyelids, but all you sense is your own heartbeat and the circle's united breath. A playful voice interrupts. So which came first, the herb or the spirit? And someone adds, exactly like the chicken or egg, if the egg was scented like mint. Laughter ripples through the group, easing the tension of academic sparring. The herbalist rolls her shoulders and concedes, okay, maybe there was some spirit work, but it was always grounded in herb lore. The shaman nods, tapping the drum once more. And herbs always needed that guiding spark. You exhale, watching smoke from a nearby cedar bundle swirl above the debate, an unplanned callback to Section 7. The mingled scents of cedar smoke and sweetgrass settle around you, forging a truce between plant and spirit. A fringe tidbit surfaces. Some oral storytellers claim Cherokee healers carried dream-caught herbs into their trance herbs that sprouted from seeds planted in the dream world, though mainstream researchers scoff at that notion. The circle rises, hands linking in a slow, deliberate chain. Herb and spirit, the elder healer intones, are two wings of the same bird. You feel the warmth of linked hands and the pulse of shared intention, recalling Auntie Waya's goldenrod sprig from Section 10. Each element from the night's journey, steam, chant, smoke, water, bone, aligns here in a final affirmation that Cherokee healing is holistic, not binary. A respectful silence settles as you all bow your heads, letting the consensus echo. The debate itself is part of the ceremony, honoring both tangible plant wisdom and intangible spirit guidance. You sense the night air shift, calm filling every inhalation as if the forest itself approves. You break the chain, stepping back with a grin, noting the playful flicker of lantern light and the distant owl's approving hoot. You whisper a light-hearted promise. Next time, I'll bring the coffee or spirit water for debate refreshments, and the circle releases a warm chuckle. You tuck a feather and a sprig of sweetgrass behind your ear, a souvenir of both herbal and shamanic unity. The fire's glow softens, and you feel a cool breeze brush your face. Tonight's debate, rooted in fact, laced with fringe steeped in scholarly question, leaves you with a richer understanding and a peaceful smile. You step away from the firelit meadow toward the final wind-down clearing senses, sharpened heart light. You slip away from the firelit meadow and follow a slender path to a shallow creek bank where turtle and mussel shells gleam like pale moons scattered on dark velvet. Lanterns perched in sycamore forks cast wavering light across the water's surface, turning ripples into liquid starlight. You probably won't survive this without wanting to cradle one of those shells like a lullaby record, though whispering play me won't actually spin any tunes. Historically, 18th century colonial observers recorded Cherokee using freshwater mussel shells as scoops for medicinal waters noting their smooth nacre surfaces prized for both utility and beauty. An elder herbalist crouches by the creek, palm cupped over a cluster of small turtle shell fragments and smooth mussel halves. She lifts a shell to her ear, tilting it like a seashell, and you hear, if you listen close, a faint susurration, as though water and wind conspire to hum a secret melody. Fringe lore insists that if you hum back in Cherokee syllables, the shell will replay your own lullaby to any nearby spirit, though most scholars treat that as a bedtime tale for ghostly insomniacs. You kneel beside her and select a shallow oval mussel shell inscribed with tiny faded notches, reminders of past ceremonies. The shell's interior is cool and slick, the nacre catching lantern glow like a mother-of-pearl moon. You dip it into the creek, filling it halfway with cold, clear water, whose surface tension brims just so. A bead of water clings to the shell's lip, trembling like a suspended note. You cup the shell to your lips and whisper a simple lullaby. In Cherokee, Ozda, Ganvada, rest in peace. Then tilt it so a thin stream ripples into the creek. The water cascades in a crystalline arc, singing a soft plink-plink percussive rhythm that reminds you of the bone divination chimes from Section 9. You can't help but grin. Ghost percussion section. Now featuring creek water, you whisper, earning a soft exhale of amusement from the elder. Historians still argue whether these shell water offerings originated as practical ways to cleanse bones or evolved later into melodic, spirit-soothing rituals. But tonight, you hear both history and harmony flowing together. Next, the herbalist directs you to a low-lying log where turtle carapaces rest like silent witnesses. Each shell is polished smooth, its concave underside cupped to hold herbal infusions or warm steam. She places a few sprigs of cedar and sweetgrass inside one shell, then sets it over a cluster of smoldering coals. You lean in, inhaling a blend of cedar's balsamic warmth and sweetgrass's vanilla brightness that curls from the shell like a lullaby lull. Fringe practitioners claim that warming shells amplify scent waves in frequencies spirits find irresistible, though most dismiss that as a spectral marketing gimmick. You hold your hand above the shell's edge, sensing a gentle heat that radiates upward, comforting as a cat's purr against your palm. The elder passes you a second shell, this one carved with clan symbols along its rim. You pour a small cup of goldenrod-infused water from Section 4's kettle into the shell, watching the liquid shimmer in the coal's glow. As the water warms, it emits soft hisses and crackles that sound almost like whispered words. Shh, sleep, though your mind supplies the lullaby. You press the shell's warm edge to your cheek, delighting in how the heat and scent lull your muscles into slack repose. A chorus of soft frog calls echoes from the creek, your old friends from Section 8's water offering, and you let the combined aroma and amphibian accompaniment wash over you. You hum a quiet tune, and the elder nods appreciatively, then kneads your shoulders with firm fingertip light pressure borrowed from Section 6's steam bath massage. It's like a multi-sensory karaoke, scent, heat, touch, and sound, all woven into one soothing refrain. She motions toward a grouping of smaller mussel shell bells hanging from sapling branches overhead. Each shell has been drilled at the edge and strung on sinew, so they clink gently in the night breeze. You reach up and tilt one. It rings with a clear bell-like tone that resonates through the clearing. Shell bells were prized at lullaby ceremonies. She explains to coax spirits into a gentle trance. Fringe lore suggests the pitch of each shell bell corresponds to the spirit it summons, higher notes for youthful souls, deeper tones for elder ancestors. But most scholars treat such claims as poetic embellishments. You pluck a shell bell and tap it softly against a river stone. The note rings clear and bright like a distant bird call. Ghost phone ring, you joke time to pick up the paranormal line, and even the frogs pause long enough to croak in amusement. You experiment with different shells, discovering each pitch unique, some tinny, some mellow, like a delicate xylophone made by nature. As the shell bells sing, the elder begins a hushed chant. You feel the sound waves mingle with the shell tones coalescing into a lullaby tapestry that ripples through you like a gentle tide. You stand and sway, allowing the bells to tap against your wrist as you drift through the melody, recalling the feather smokes tickle from Section 7 and the drum beats from Section 5, uniting in this moment. A hush falls as the chant concludes and the shell bells ring out a final lingering note. You glance at the creek. They've left a trail of water-filled shells bobbing like tiny lanterns, each glowing softly. Historians still argue whether the sound and water messages carried downstream to invite distant spirits or merely symbolized a letting go. But under tonight's moon, you feel both purpose and poetry in that glowing procession. The elder gathers the shells into a woven basket and invites you to choose one as a keepsake. You select a small mussel bell still warm in your palm and humming faintly with residual notes. You tie its sinew loop around your wrist, grinning as it taps lightly against your skin, your own personal spirit alarm clock, minus the snooze button. Before you leave, she hands you a tiny leather pouch containing crushed shell powder mixed with gray goldenrod and edible dust meant to be sprinkled inside your pillowcase. One sprinkle, she says, voice soft, and your dreams will carry the lullaby of shell and stream. Fringe storytellers insist that spirits dream alongside you when you use this powder, though scholars still debate whether pillow sprinkling was common or a localized custom. You tuck the pouch under your pillow, inhaling the faint hint of shell's salty trace and goldenrod's honeyed sweetness. As you step away from the creek bank, the shell bells overhead chime once more in farewell, their notes lingering like a gentle breeze through your mind. Lantern glow dims behind you, replaced by starlight's silver hush. You pause at the edge of the clearing wrist, jingling softly, and breathe deeply. Cedar, sweetgrass, goldenrod, and shell scent swirl in your memory, a lullaby mosaic that soothes both body and spirit. You whisper to the night, good night shell ensemble, and the creek's murmur answers with a soft, rhythmic echo. You meander from the creek's lullaby and onto a stretch of churned earth, where colonial homesteads nestle against the forest's edge, their clapboard walls lit by lanterns swinging in the night breeze. The path crunches underfoot, shifting from moss-kissed roots to neat rows of transplanted apple saplings. And you probably won't survive this without noticing how the wild herbal landscapes you knew in Section 3 now share space with orderly gardens. Historically, by the late 18th century, Cherokee towns such as Kauai and Chota were deeply engaged in colonial trade, exchanging beaded baskets and deer hides for iron kettles, English wool blankets, and imported fruit trees, transforming both their medicine-making tools and their daily lives. You pause beside a raised garden bed edged with split logs, where clumps of familiar ramp leaves intermingle with cabbages and apple trees. An elder herbalist kneels here adjusting a rusted iron pot over a small fire pit. "See that kettle?" she murmurs, voice low enough that only you can hear. "Before the traders arrived, we used soapstone bowls for infusions like that mortar in Section 4. Now, this metal lets us brew stronger decoctions faster." You lean closer, inhaling the mingled scents of mint and stewed elderberries, and can almost taste the tang of adaptation on your tongue. Fringe lore claims that some herbalists swirled gunpowder in their brews to scare off especially stubborn spirits, though most dismiss that as a fiery bedtime story for restless minds. Beyond the garden, a half-built church frame stands silent, its white clapboard stacked like unused pages of a heavy book. You walk past cross-carved boards, recalling how missionaries in the 1730s chronicled Cherokee blending Christian hymns into their spirit songs, an early hint of syncretism that smoothed uneasy relations. They sang psalms between chants, someone whispers, like spiritual mashups. Before mashups were a thing, you smile imagining ghostly congregations rapping verses of Hebrews alongside Cherokee lullabies. Historians still argue whether this musical merger was strategic diplomacy or heartfelt exchange. But tonight, you hear both echoes in the night air. A breeze carries the smell of freshly sawn oak and warm pine tar from a nearby blacksmith's forge. Sparks drift skyward as metal glows orange each ember, a tiny star igniting the night. You step into the forge's glow and watch the smith gently tap a heated blade, its ring echoing like a drumbeat from Section 5. This new steel adze makes carving pestles easier, the herbalist says, her eyes reflecting firelight. But it also changes the grind's rhythm, like switching from riverstone to marble. You imagine the sound shift from slow, muffled thuds to sharp, precise clicks, and marvel how even tool upgrades ripple through centuries of herbal tradition. Ahead, a wooden fence encloses a small orchard where pear and peach trees intermingle with staghorn sumac and elderberry. You reach out, brushing your fingers against fuzzy sumac clusters, remembering their tangy fragrance from Section 2. An apprentice picks a ripe elderberry, hands it to you, and winks. "Try this colonial spice meets Cherokee syrup." You pop the berry into your mouth, its sweet tart burst like a souvenir of cultural fusion, and chuckle ghosts, probably trade recipes now. At the orchard's far end, the elder herbalist uncovers a clay jar embroidered with pine resin, an improvised distillation still from last season's harvest. She lifts the lid, releasing a heady bouquet of goldenrod and juniper. This colonial-era tincture was first used to calm frontier anxieties, she explains. You inhale, letting the scent unfurl in your chest, and almost hear the crackle of campfires along the over-mountain route. Fringe practitioners whisper The colonists added rum to these tinctures so spirits and settlers alike could take the edge off. Though historians still argue whether alcohol was a genuine healing adjunct or a later novelty. You sip a small measure from a scooped deer horn ladle, the amber liquid warming your throat with a whisper of pine and honey. The taste feels like home and not home, woven together in a single swallow. You close your eyes and notice how the orchard's night chorus echoes across time the owl's hoot. From section 1, the creek's murmur from section 8, and even the shell bells tinkle from section 12. Each ritual element you experienced earlier seems to reconvene here under these hybrid trees. Moving on, you pass a line of tobacco plants growing in pots carved from tin cans, their leaves broad and waxy. Tobacco became a staple offering by mid-colonial times, the herbalist says, both to visiting traders and to appease spirits unsettled by new arrivals. You touch a leaf, feeling its smooth surface, and can almost taste the earthy burn you smoked as a teenager, minus the teenage angst. Fringe lore insists that Cherokee shamans believed spirits particularly favored tobacco's scent, but most scholars treat that as an echo of European pipe ceremonies rather than indigenous invention. You wander toward a battered log cabin where gleaned scraps of paper hang from the rafters, Cherokee syllabary characters inked on old ledgers. These pages bear herbal recipes, prayers, and lists of spirit names, an emergent hybrid text bridging oral tradition and written records. You gently finger a curled corner, imagining the tremor of each stroke. Historians still argue whether these early written manuscripts preserved authentic Cherokee knowledge or reflected translator biases. But tonight, you honor the effort to record ancient lore under new pressures. Inside the cabin, tools hang on pegs, iron ladles, bone needles, and twisted copper wire. You pick up a copper coil and try to wrap it around your finger. It feels cold and alien, yet oddly fitting, a symbol of resilience in adaptation. The herbalist smiles softly. Copper replaced deer sinew for binding bundles, she says, gesturing to a shelf of herb packets wrapped in copper wire. It conducts energy differently. Some say it amplifies a herb's power. Others call it superstition. Historians still argue whether copper's conductive lore emerged from Cherokee practice or trickled in via European alchemy. But you feel its cool pulse echo in your palm. You step outside into the orchard once more, dusk's last glow replaced by lantern light trembling among branches. The garden's odor invites a deep breath. Yet you remember Section 3's hidden orchid glades, chaotic beauty thriving in the wild. Here, adaptation means balancing structure and spontaneity, much like tonight's narrative weaving colonial and indigenous threads. A chorus of cicadas hums from the fence line, and you lean against a weathered post, inhaling the mingled aromas of ripening fruit cedar and elderflower. You close your eyes, picturing the mortar's sturdy presence in Section 4, the steaming stones in Section 6, the feather's caress in Section 7, and now the orchard's measured rows, a testament to survival and innovation. This clearing is a living archive, each grafted tree a symbol of exchange, each plow furrow a line in an evolving story of resilience. A final fringe rumor drifts from the herbalist's lips. Some believe that When a spirit brews in a colonial kettle, it gains a taste for iron and must be appeased with metal offerings thereafter. You snort, picturing ghost metallurgists forging tiny iron spoons. Yet as you pocket a small iron nail, she hands you claimed to ward off particularly stubborn phantoms. You feel a shiver of excitement, part curiosity and part spectral adrenaline. You step back onto the path leading toward the next ritual, clearing baskets, now empty of herbs, but overflowing with fresh insights. In the hush between orchard rows, you sense the careful dance of two worlds, one of ancestral forest wisdom, the other of colonial-era invention. You exhale, tasting apple-scented night air, and whisper, "Here's to hybrid hauntings," before following lantern light deeper into the adaptive embrace of Cherokee spirit care. You step across the threshold of a bright community center repurposed from an old schoolhouse, where sunlight filtered through dusty windows onto rows of folding chairs and long tables topped with bundles of dried herbs and steaming kettles. You probably won't survive this without spotting at least one smartphone sneakily recording for Instagram, though the spirits of your grandparents might question the Wi-Fi password. Historically, Cherokee cultural revival efforts gained real momentum in the late 20th century, when the Cherokee Preservation Foundation launched language and traditional arts programs across Oklahoma and North Carolina, marking a modern renaissance in indigenous heritage. A facilitator greets you clipboard in hand, inviting you to find your seat and choose from an array of workshop tracks: steam bath meditation, feather smoke, aromatherapy, bone divination, DIY, and shell bell sound healing. You spy a QR code next to the feather smoke station, promising an AR experience augmenting reality, until you see spectral butterflies flutter around your head. Someone near you jokes, "Ghosts better watch out for TikTok filters," and you grin, imagining phantom influencers perfecting their light and lime palettes. You slide into a chair at the herbal tea infusion table, where electric kettles hiss gently, modern descendants of the iron pots in Section 4. The facilitator, a young Cherokee herbalist with a smartphone taped to her forehead for live streaming, explains the menu: black cohosh lavender latte, gray goldenrod honey brew, and jewel weed mint refresher. As she pours hot water over carefully measured herb blends, you inhale the steam cedar and mint layering, just like in Section 6's steam bath. Only now you can also adjust the temperature with an app. Fringe enthusiasts claim that tracking your heart rate while sipping herbal tea tunes your spirit-soothing dosage to your biofeedback, though most scholars dismiss that as wellness techno-mythology. Next to you, a participant adjusts a VR headset for a guided steam bath simulation, heat, plus herb visuals projected onto your retina. You chuckle. "If only my ancestors could Netflix and chill in a sweat lodge." And another attendee murmurs, "Ghosts binge watch around here," prompting a ripple of quiet laughter. You slip off the headset, opting instead for a real-life steam chamber. Experience scheduled after lunch. They've set up portable steam tents in the courtyard, complete with cedar and jewel weed bundles on electric heating pads. Moving on, you wander into the feather smoke aromatherapy corner, where USB-powered incense burners emit wisps of cedar and sweetgrass smoke that drift lazily around your ankles. You probably won't survive this Without getting a faint whiff of smoke detector panic, the organizers assured you all alarms are on spirit mode. You raise a hawk feather fan synthetic feathers allowed for sustainability reasons and wave it through the scented air. A fringe workshop leader insists that pairing Cedar Plus essential oils with binaural beats at 432 Hz amplifies spirit soothing frequencies, but historians still argue whether traditional Cherokee smoke rites ever involved intentional sound frequency tuning, or if that's a 21st century remix. You pause at a bone divination DIY station where smooth deer antler carving kits and printed templates invite you to engrave elemental symbols onto bone fragments. A sign reads, "Take your artifact home as a spirit compass," and you pick up a deer metacarpal carving tiny zigzags as taught in Section 9. You realize your hands now hold a USB rechargeable LED lamp to illuminate your work, hardly the firelit whispers of old yet functional enough to guide your carving. Someone quips, "LED bone testing glow in the dark spirits assemble," and you laugh, remembering how the colonial forge in Section 13 introduced new tools into Cherokee life. At the Shell Bell Sound Healing booth, recovered mussel shells hang on macrame loops, each tuned to a different note. You tap one gently, and a small speaker hidden beneath the table amplifies its tone with a soft echo effect. Shell Bells 2.0 Dolby Ghost Edition, someone murmurs, and you grin, imagining spirits lining up at the concession stand for surround sound relaxation. A fringe developer offers a Shell Bell smartphone app that plays recorded creek ambiances whenever you tap your phone, though. Scholars still debate whether recorded nature sounds count as authentic spirit soothing. Between sessions, you slip outside to the courtyard, steam tents lined up like gleaming lunchboxes in a row. You unzip your tent and step onto a fold-out bench where scented steam rises from heated stones. It smells of cedar wood and rose mallow, just as in Section 6, but now you control humidity with a dial. You lean back against a neoprene pad and exhale, letting the warmth loosen muscles tight from desk work. A facilitator calls out, "Don't forget your Fitbit biofeedback," and you check your wrist, noting your heart rate dropping by 10 beats already. Fringe wearables claim to alert you when your aura shifts out of Zen, but historians still argue whether Cherokee steam bath rituals ever prioritized metrics over mindfulness. After steam therapy, you reconvene in the main hall for a guided chant circle. A looped backing track of cedar drum and flute plays as you echo Cherokee syllables, blending Section 5's live chant lessons with modern production value. You notice earbuds dangling from one attendee streaming real-time translations and pronunciation tips ancestors might have raised an eyebrow, but you appreciate the help. Someone offhandedly jokes, "If you auto-tune the chant, do spirits care?" provoking a ripple of soft laughs. Late afternoon brings a panel discussion on ethics and cultural appropriation. A moderator asks, "How do we balance open access with respect for sacred traditions?" You probably won't survive this without jotting down at least 3 bullet points. But you listen as panelists, both Cherokee Nation members and allied practitioners, share perspectives. Fringe voices suggest commercializing pet ghost aromatherapy, but mainstream historians still argue whether modern workshops like this risk commodifying traditions or serve as vital cultural transmission. To end the day, you join a closing circle where each participant names one technique they'll bring home. You speak up, I'll prototype a smart diffuser that honors spirit-soothing scents. The group laughs. Someone murmurs, "May your ghosts sniff in peace." Then the elder facilitator leads a short blessing in Cherokee Nagada Galvladi, meaning be connected, and you feel your shoulders drop as tension dissolves. You recall Auntie Waya's words from Section 10, Gentle Does It, and you whisper her reminder internally. You file out into the dusk tote bag bulging with carved bones digital handouts and a tin of shell bell earrings. Lanterns strung above the courtyard amid soft LED glows, lending a fairy light charm to the workshop's closing moments. A playful voice says, "See you at next year's Spirit-Soothing Tech Expo." And you chuckle imagining a ghostly vendor hall with wearable incense pods. You tuck your phone away and inhale deeply the mingled aromas of cedar goldenrod and shell, lingering like a modern tradition mothball sweet with promise. As you walk back down the sidewalk past the refurbished schoolhouse and toward your car, you feel the pulse of revival under your feet. This isn't just nostalgia. It's adaptation, innovation, and communal memory woven into every hashtag and handcrafted artifact. Historians still argue whether these modern workshops can preserve authenticity or inevitably transform ancient practice. But tonight, you sense authenticity in every shared laugh-scented breath and glowing LED ember of Cherokee spirit care. You wander back into the firelit clearing where every ritual thread you've experienced tonight gathers like a soft mosaic of memory. Steam's milky swirl still clinging to your skin. From Section 6, the feather smokes tickle, recalling Section 7. And the spring's clear murmur from Section 8 echoing in your chest. You settle onto a mossy log toes, brushing cool earth, and let the night air cradle you like a gentle lullaby. You probably won't survive this without feeling your heartbeat slow to the forest's pulse, a welcome reminder that even in the darkest hours, calm can bloom. Historically, by 1827, the Cherokee Nation adopted its own written constitution, blending tribal governance with emerging democratic ideals, a testament to resilience long before many states across the young United States achieved suffrage rights of their own. You close your eyes and breathe in the layered scents, cedar's balsamic warmth, from Section 7 gray goldenrod's honeyed sweetness, from Sections 4 and 6, and the metallic whisper of shell from Section 12. The mingled aromas swirl in your lungs like a nocturnal cocktail, each inhale lodging comfort in your bones. Fringe lore suggests that inhaling this exact blend at midnight invites ancestral guides to whisper secrets in your dreams, though most scholars still debate whether such midnight inhalation rites were ever codified or improvised by individual healers. A distant cricket chorus hums in response, their rhythmic trills weaving through your reverie like distant echoes of the chant from Section 5. You smile at the memory of that drumbeat's deep resonance, how it pressed gentle waves through your chest and loosened every tight knot. Now seated in the hush, you sense the drum's echo ripple beneath the soil, as if the earth itself reverberates with centuries of medicine song. You lightly tap your fingers on the log, mimicking that thump, and feel the ancient pulse sync with your own. Your mind drifts to the bone divination from Section 9, the precise click of deer fragments against river stones, each fragment whispering elemental truths. You reach into your pocket fingertips, brushing the leather pouch, holding those fragments, and draw it out. The worn buckskin feels warm from your body heat, and you press it against your heart, imagining each bone sending soft reassurance through your chest. Someone nearby quips bone to be wild, and you chuckle the pun, easing the stillness like a spoonful of sugar. Above you, fireflies drift lazily among oak branches, their glow painting flecks of phosphorescence on shadowed trunks. You reach up and let one alight on your finger, its light so faint you almost miss it. Fringe storytellers claim these little lanterns are actually spirit couriers, gathering messages from tonight's ceremonies, though historians still argue whether indigenous firefly lore predates European entomological curiosity or arose from cross-cultural exchange. You tilt your head back, gazing at the lattice of stars overhead, tracing faint constellations that once guided Cherokee hunters across winter snows. A gentle breeze stirs the sweet fern tucked at your waistband from Section 2's plant identification, releasing a fresh burst of citrus mint that tingles at the back of your throat. It's a sensory callback. You almost missed proof that tonight's rituals remain alive in every breath you take. Your eyes drift to the basket beside you, now empty of foraged herbs, but overflowing with echoes of each step, orchid's pink petals from Section 3, black cohosh's fibrous warmth, wintergreen's sharp mint, and the spicy zing of wild ginger. You run your hand along the basket's woven rim, recalling how each herb taught you something unexpected, like spirits getting itchy in Section 2, or shells humming lullabies in Section 12. You laugh softly, thinking that spirits might have better online reviews than half the meditation apps you've tried. A hush falls as the elder healer approaches lantern in hand and sits beside you without a word. You share a look that carries all 15 sections worth of shared experience. The harvest, the grind, the chant, the steam, the smoke, the water, the bones, the case, study, the debate, the shells, the colonial gardens, the modern revival workshops. It's a quiet communion, a moment of stillness shaped by every ritual's texture and tone. You lean into that silence, feeling history's weight and healing's promise converge. She offers you a shallow clay cup filled with the final infusion, a blend of choked cherry syrup and gray goldenrod, sweet and grounding. You cradle the cup in both hands, the warm clay against your palms, reminding you of the mortar's heft in Section 4 and the clay kettle in Section 4's brew. You lift the cup to your lips and sip the liquid's tart sweet depth, unfurling comfort in your throat like a last verse of a lullaby carrying you home. A friend whispers, "Liquid good night," and you grin, savoring the phrase as much as the flavor. As the cup warms and empties, you feel tears prickle at your lashes, tears of release, of gratitude for this living tapestry of care. You recall Auntie Waya's gentle touch from Section 10, her phrase, "gentle does it," and repeat it in your mind with quiet reverence. You feel that gentleness settle in your bones, coaxing any lingering tension to dissolve like morning mist in the sunrise that still lies hours away. You stand slowly, basket in one hand, cup in the other, and offer it back to the healer. She nods, eyes soft, and gestures toward the path that leads back to rest. You take a final breath of the night air, tasting cedar smoke mint and honey, and let the mixture anchor you to this moment of deep connection. A distant owl hoots old friends returning for one last encore, and you whisper, "Thank you for the performance," as if the forest itself understands. You turn toward the trail lantern light guiding your steps and feel the tapestry of tonight's rituals weave into your spirit. Every scent, every beat, every whisper has led you here to a place where calm meets memory and breathing itself feels like home. You trudge softly into the darkness heart, eased senses lulled, carrying the night's slow song with you. Now your steps soften as you drift along the lantern-lit path back to your own refuge, each footfall a gentle echo on moss-blanketed earth. The air wraps you in a velvety hush, and each inhalation carries the faintest traces of gray goldenrod cedar and sweetgrass, the evening's final refrain. Soft shadows stretch across tree trunks, lengthening like whispered promises as moonlight filters through leaf-laced holes overhead, painting the night in dappled silver. Feel the cool breeze brush your cheeks as you pause, senses tingling with the memory of every ritual touch, from warming steam chambers to feather-kissed smoke, from bone's quiet tap to water's crystalline song. Let each memory float like a feather on the wind, settling in your mind as a gentle lullaby. You are cradled in continuity, woven into an ancient tapestry of healing, made new by each careful breath. Your shoulders loosen, your jaw unclenches, and a calm warmth pools in your chest. The chorus of crickets and frogs fades to a soft accompaniment, a comforting metronome that guides your heartbeat toward rest. Breathe in slowly, letting your lungs fill with serene night air. Breathe out, fully releasing any stubborn tension into the dark, fertile soil beneath your feet. As you near your resting place, imagine laying down the day's burdens beside a silvered river of memory, watching them drift away on tendrils of steam and scented smoke. Invite gratitude for the land that held you, the herbs that soothed you, and the voices, human and unseen, that sang you here. Know that each rite, each shared joke, each whispered chant has woven calm into your spirit. Now, surrender to the hush. Let your eyelids grow heavy, each breath a tender invitation to dream. The forest's night song is yours to carry, soft, persistent, and ever gentle. Rest here in the cradle of memory and moss-soft earth, and let sleep carry you deeper into the serene embrace. End of script. Sweet dreams.